welcome back to the podcast. Well, this is our first ever podcast.
Yeah, not really welcome back. It's more of just a welcome in general, but okay.
But today's topic, this is actually our new show that me and BP.
Hey.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, my name is Shiva Kidasamy.
Brandon Parks,
hence the name BP. But today we are talking all about the Migos flow, and before we get started with that, I just want to say what this series is all about. So me and Brandon were kind of talking about the series for a while, or not really a while, but we've been just brainstorming ideas for podcasts and stuff. And we're both into musical things, if you will. And so this show is really just going to be talking about different musical things or things that are going on in the music industry right now.
New research and development and
exactly.
stuff like that too.
And yeah, so we're both musicians, and we're producing some stuff currently. Stay tuned for that. That was a really bad shout out. But so today's topic for today's show is on the Migos flow, and more specifically how it's influencing the industry, the music industry, I should say, right now. Do you know about this topic, or do you want me to give a little background on this topic?
I know a little bit. I know what it is.
Okay.
The Migos flow itself is the triplet in the lyrics, and how basically the raindrop, drop top type of thing.
Raindrop, drop top.
No.
So yeah, for those of you guys who are not or living under a rock, Migos is this really big hip hop group currently in the music industry that's popping, as some of these
it's hype,
younger,
brother.
Yeah.
Hype.
It's hype. But no, the Migos group is consistent of Quavo, Takeoff, and Offset. Their first ever song that really popped off was Versace. Do you remember that song?
No.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So it essentially featured Drake. Drake kind of discovered them.
Oh wait, yes I do.
Yeah, Versace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That song.
I get that
song.
One.
That's really their first debut of that triplet flow, that famous triplet flow that we see in today's music. And we'll get more into that later on in the podcast. But essentially, the Migos flow, as BP was talking about, was really a triplet type of style for vocals. And more specifically, the Migos flow also consists of, in terms of instrumental things, a sub, which is an 808, a kick, and sometimes claps or just small things, and headroom for the vocals, mainly when you're doing the hi-hat and the snare patterns and stuff with the kick, of course. But yeah.
So the flow is really not only their lyrics, but it's also their music behind the lyrics.
Exactly. So and that's how I kind of see it. Some people think of it differently than what I think, but I really think that's the Migos flow. The Migos flow.
The whole thing.
The whole shebang, if you will. So I really think that this has influenced the music industry as a whole. For the good or the worse, that can be argued.
Depends on what you like.
Yeah. Me and Brandon are more of traditional musicians, if you will. We really enjoy acoustic type of instruments, if you will. Meaning not electronic produced instruments like 808s, kicks, claps.
Yeah, I like my synthesizers though.
Yeah, no, synthesizers are pretty cool. But actually, interesting fact about Migos, they're actually owned by Motown.
Okay, that's kind of odd.
Yeah, and that Motown type of feel, you hear that with the famous claps. They kind of, Motown, when it was popping, they had those famous claps that you would hear in the 80s or the 70s. But now they kind of modified it and made it a lot more cleaner, I guess you can say. Like not a lot of like reverb, but like less reverb and more of just this like.
And for those of you who don't know what Motown is, that was like back in the old days, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson, Jackson 5, etc.
Hey.
Those people.
Yeah.
Marvin Gaye.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I gotta give credit where credit's due. You know, they were pretty innovative. It was a new type of style. It hasn't been it hasn't been really like popularized and successful. Really in the music industry. You would see a couple different artists doing it here and there, but not like as their thing. You know, the Migos flow, the famous Migos flow. Really characterizes Migos. Like without that, they wouldn't be probably where they're at. Like
I would say that too.
And for them that's great, but I gotta really voice my opinions here. You probably have the same opinions, you know.
It's a little repetitive.
It's pretty repetitive with what they do with their music. So like. Not just them, but that like style has been and not necessarily the voicing, like the vocals, like the triplet like feel, but mainly like the instruments, you know. We see this in pop now. Like pop is becoming more like hip hop, you know, where artists are using like subs, kicks, claps, things like that.
They've relatively always done what's popular. Now that is becoming more and more popular.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I just feel like it's at first it was a great like creative thing, you know. It was something new, and for a while I was like going, okay, you know, that's fine, you know. That's like what I advocate. Like when I'm producing, and you know this from me, that really like when I'm creating music, I want to be as innovative as possible. I want new sounds, maybe incorporate some like popular sounds.
But it's very distant. It's not like what they're doing. Where it's just
where it's like
all the time.
Yeah, every song like you can't identify.
Yeah.
That's stir fry or that's walkie talkie. You can't identify it because it's the same type of thing, and that has been bleeding over to pop. And it's almost kind of sad, you know, because like
But it works.
It works. I mean, like, hey. You know, a lot, like, for the longest time, recording studios and labels have really not experimented. And it's mainly due because it's very expensive to, like, experiment with new stuff. And, like, when instead of they could be, like, because at the end of the day, they're a business. They're trying to get as much money as possible. That's just how every business works,
Unfortunately.
Right? Unfortunately, yeah. But, I mean, like, with that being said, they don't want to spend money while instead they could be getting money.
Yeah.
And a lot of money because that's what people enjoy. And, like, it's kind of a shame because, you know, people do enjoy that type of music, but what's really been really popular was these old type of styles, you know, the 80s type of style. Like, when, so, like, a little background for me and BP that we're BP. We are currently working on like an 80s throwback type of album.
Yeah. It's got a little fusion in it though.
Yeah, it's a little fusion. But you know when I tell people they're like so ecstatic. They're like, "Whoa."
Yeah, people like old school.
Exactly. So like I think that's what's really been like popular and like people are you know, you can turn up to like a lot of these songs, but at the end of the day, this music's gonna be lost. It's gonna be replaced. You know.
That's true.
While there's countless like historical songs like like September from Earth, Wind, Fire. I Want You Back from Jackson 5. Stevie Wonder, Superstition.
Man in the Mirror,
of course. I mean, and like Backstreet Boys, NSYNC, like we can go on. And those are just countless songs that, you know, people will put on the radio. And I was actually just fascinated by Queen, like the rock band Queen.
The new movie just came out.
Yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody. And I was surprised of how Freddie Mercury, like, I was seeing different analysis on Bohemian Rhapsody and how it's arguably probably the most, probably one of the top songs in the history of music.
They also say it has the most genres.
Exactly. No, because there's what is there? Opera,
rock,
pop, classical.
Yeah,
it's just like a whole like melting pot of all these different genres, which I think is genius. That's just really like, oh yeah.
You can learn more about it from the movie, but
yeah, exactly. So like, I mean, like things like that. I feel like Migos. Yes, they're geniuses. They've they found the gold rush, if you will. But in terms of other artists, like people who really didn't grow up or like didn't like start their fame with this like triplet flow.
Yeah.
Like I mean like I'm seeing like Bruno Mars doing this.
Yeah,
with like
every once in a
Wake
while,
Up in the Sky, like which is his new song.
The new song, yeah.
Yeah. Da, 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 da. Like it has that voicing of like.
I liked your representation of it. That was really good.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. But I mean, at the end of the day, this is really bleeding into the pop genre, and I'm worried because as yes, it's argued that there have been times throughout musical history where a certain pattern or a certain type of feel has been like prominent, right?
And I think one of the really big parts about this flow in general is the repetition that we were talking about earlier. It actually like repetition sells. People love repetition.
Yeah, I mean like it's been proven through like research, like humans love repetition. They'll catch on more onto whatever the song's talking about.
Well, it's even like your everyday life. You wake up, you eat breakfast, you go do work, you come back, you sleep. It's every day repetition.
Yep.
So
but it's getting to the point where it's too repetitive.
Yes. I agree.
And like really I mean we've had times where certain years was a certain like amount, like this was like the 80s, for example. The 80s, what characterized the 80s was the Lindrum,
Yeah.
And like a bunch of reverb, that they love their reverb, which still is used today, reverb for mixing purposes, for vocals.
I'm a guitar player myself, and guitars use it all the time.
Exactly, yeah. So I mean, but that was like the Lindrum and things like that. You could do different stylings, I mean, like, because you can control how much reverb the Lindrum had. Maybe you wanted less reverb or more reverb, and you can really like experiment. But the thing is, artists, I think artists are starting to realize now, like, hey, I want to have more, like, I want to innovate it a little bit, but not changing the formula, And I think, again, going back to Motown, they create their formulas. They're really clever at creating like recipes and.
I would say that music can't be categorized into a recipe, though.
Yeah. No, but I mean, just in general,
the art form has been formulated.
Yeah. No, but their artists are still like starting to realize, hey, maybe we should pump the brakes on this.
So you're saying that new artists that coming up now are changing it?
Yeah, I mean, like you have people like what is it, like hip hop artist Anderson .Paak.
Yep.
He's a growing hip hop artist. He's awesome.
He's a drummer, right?
Yeah, he's a drummer. Yeah. Falls home with me, but like he, what's really great, I think, with like musicians, especially me and yourself, and there's many like different musicians who like started off before singing or doing any of this like high intensity music creation, really knew their craft, knew about different things, like, for example, music theory for like guitarists, piano players, bass players even. And like for me, I knew how to make like different like sounding rhythms that like were pleasing to the ear, that was catchy at the end of the day. But Anderson .Paak, he knows his music theory. He kind of categorized himself as this person, and he's a perfect example of someone trying to do something different. And I think, again, with this innovation theory that, I actually did research on this. This guy named E.M. Rogers, he created this theory called the innovation theory. It's formulated in the 60s. Pretty cool theory. I recommend you check it out. But
he talked about toasters, right?
Yeah. He was talking about how things like toasters became less innovative towards its end cycle. So at first, when we can use smartphones, for example, when smartphones were coming out, you really had a bunch of different companies trying to make something that people would like. But once you start losing market share and once product starts becoming really popular,
Apple.
Of course, yeah, with the iPhones and stuff. Yep. I'm not gonna admit, I'm not gonna throw it away, but yes, Apple with their iPhones, a lot more smartphones started following what they were doing because they didn't want to lose market share. At the end of the day, they're a company. They need to survive. So what do? They get what people like. They like iPhones. They like how they were a clean design, things like that. And that's honestly what that's essentially what the innovation theory is, and how over time, once a certain thing gets more market share, more things start going that way. And so less innovation.
So relating that back to music, you're saying that the flow itself, that triplet going over and over again, it's inspiring new musicians to do the same thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of just if I want to be popular, I gotta have this hype flow, humana humana ha humana da da, just that Migos flow. And again, why I started. This is a little background of why I started producing. I really started producing because in my high school, a lot of there was a boom of producers and rappers.
As always in every high school.
As always. But it was kind of cool because we didn't have this in freshman year or sophomore years. It started booming junior and senior year. And I saw a lot of the same thing being produced, 808s, kicks, snares.
We actually,
claps.
Before we even started this podcast, there's a group in here.
Yeah.
Producing with
And I mean, I'm just gonna say this was kind of lit. It was you cannot you cannot say, hey, that was not lit. That was lit. It was lit. It was bumping. I was having I was going, damn, this is a party.
They were a little annoying. There's 6 of them, but
yeah. In a musician's perspective, yes, I could see how annoying this was, but you gotta admit, if this was a party, that would be tight. But again, going back to what I was saying, a lot of the producers were doing the same thing. And I was going, first of all, you haven't really perfected your craft, You haven't, because don't get me wrong, I'm still working to become the best drummer. You're still working to become one of the best.
And you always will, yeah.
Yeah, and that's even the best, the people who are considered the best in those respective fields, still say they're not the best.
Stevie Wonder actually had a quote on that. He says, I think, if a musician never retires until music is out of him.
Yep.
So.
Hey, that's a good quote. That's a really good quote. But yeah, no, I mean, again, it's this innovation theory. They wanted to get noticed. They wanted to get popular. Of course, even in high school, people want to become popular, People want to get that clout, admit it. If I became a producer for, Bruno Mars.
Yeah.
you
be
want
great.
Yeah, you want to. That's a lot of clout. I'd be famous. But again, going back to this, just the clout. That's honestly what people are trying to go for now. Producers are going that route.
So you're saying there's less music and more popularity is the focus.
It's a popularity game.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a popular. I mean, you already get clout for producing. Don't get me wrong. When I when I talk to a girl, I say, yo, like when I talk to them about producing, I'm like, they're like going, whoa, let me come to that
Are
session.
you giving relationship advice now?
Hey, I might be. No, but for real, you get a certain amount of clout for producing because
Okay.
that's dope,
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty dope. But if you get popular,
Yeah.
you go to a new level,
Yeah.
of like clout, and like at the end of the day, humans want to be like, they want to be cared about. They want to be like known. It's a sense of like they're not insecure. Like,
So you're saying that the Migos flow has taken us from having music with meaning and
Exactly.
etc. to
Exactly.
a game of popularity.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, hip hop arguably was the most clout-based art form you could say. Like, it was all about money. Like most hip hop, like the upbringings. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't roast us about this because I know there's groups like NWA.
Well, of course.
That were
old school.
Old school hip hop.
The oldies, but the goldies.
Yeah, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. They were also innovative. That's what I love about Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre, he was innovative. He made new sounds. And don't get me wrong, we were actually doing a type of pattern that he had on the piano, like with, of course, different notes and stuff. But
there's even new Hindi hip hop or indie hip
Hindi?
hop, not Hindi, indie hip hop artists, such as Hobo Johnson. Have you ever heard of him?
No, I've never heard of him.
He has a really great song called Peach Scones.
Oh.
So if anyone you like, check that out. It's pretty good.
Okay, shout out to
Hobo Johnson, man.
No, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, hip hop be like after this like type of protesting like type of vibe that hip hop was getting, it kind of turned into clout and we saw that transition in the 2000s, like early 2000s, like with a lot more like, oh, I got a Rolex, oh, I got money,
it's turned from
drugs,
this
like,
thing about like cops and all this racism that's been happening to
like meaningful stuff, like that, like
deep
wasn't being talked about,
to this new drinking, drugs, and girls. That's pretty much it.
I mean, like it's a shame. In my I mean, I don't get me wrong. I turn up with some of these.
Well, it's nice to listen to. You can dance.
Yeah, exactly. And at the end of the day, hey, that's what they probably are going for, because like, I mean, we do still see this type of protest vibe with hip hop, like Kendrick Lamar, Childish Gambino.
You could even say Kanye West.
Arguably, that has been a little bit dry recently.
Okay, we like the music, not the man, right? That's
yes. I mean, not even like his music. Like, he's a genius. Like
he's not a genius, but yes, he does make very deep lyrics.
Yeah. Whoop-diddy scoop-dee whoop.
Okay, moving on from that one.
But yeah, I mean, like, at the end of the day, I feel that artists, especially up-and-coming artists, need to have this, idea, hey, I'm not signed to a label yet. I'm not signed to a studio yet, I want to create something. Because at the end of the day, music's about self-expression.
Yes.
It's all about expressing who you are and what's going on in your life,
So you think that this flow, this concept is negatively affecting the industry itself?
Yeah, because, again, this diffusion of innovation. Like, if we don't have newcomers, these indie producers like ourselves,
Yes.
doing this like mission of trying to create something that's different, but might, incorporate some old styles, that's true. In my opinion, that's real music.
Yeah, and we need to keep evolving this art instead of letting it dry out.
Because think about it. Let's put the human race in perspective. I mean, like, I'm being serious. Like, if we just stayed as cavemen, we didn't progress.
That's true.
Like, we wouldn't be like this intelligent, like, human race.
Yeah.
And arguably, we still aren't that.
We still haven't evolved to our true form yet.
Yeah.
We'll get there one day.
Yeah, one day. But I mean, with that, like think about like if we were cavemen.
I don't want to think about it. If
Yeah,
I was a caveman.
I'm sorry, but I'm just saying, like if like we need innovation in our lives.
Okay.
We just need that. We wouldn't be who we are without innovation.
And I believe all fields need innovation.
Exactly.
Science, technology, etc.
Etc. Yeah.
Even agriculture. You could say agriculture needs some
Yeah.
innovation. These corn plants.
Exactly. These farmers.
Yeah.
No, I mean like politics too.
Yep.
I mean like there's a whole wide variety, and we can go on and on. But at the end of the day, today's topic was on the
Migos flow.
And I think we're gonna end it there.
Okay.
It was a really nice conversation. If you guys want more things related to producing and stuff like that,
Musical theory.
yeah. I'm not too sure about like comments, but like this is probably going on YouTube. So like if you do want that, let us know. And we'll go about that.
This is the flow.
The show is called The Flow. Yeah. Coincidentally,
Our
yeah.
first topic is the Migos flow.
Exactly. So maybe we'll talk about more different flows, you know?
Cardi B flow.
Oh my. Dude, she uses the same Migos flow, like
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways, I'm ranting at this point. But anyways, just do you want to give some finishing remarks? Do you want me to go first or?
you go first.
All right, I just want to say, the music industry needs to man up or woman up, because we don't
Gender neutral.
Yes,
Up.
gender neutral. We just need to get better. We need increased development. We need more diverse types of sounds with music. And yes, I do know that we're getting to that point, but still we're hindered.
We're hindered by these famous groups.
Exactly. So yeah, that's all I have to give. Just like Migos, congrats. You guys started something cool, but for the rest of the industry, you guys need to get some work done. Okay.
Thank you.
Are you gonna give any closing remarks?
My closing remark was the same as yours, so.
Oh, okay, cool. All right, cool. Until the next episode, this is Shiva Kitasami.
BP.
BP. All right. See you guys.